It was May 2023. The sport had momentum. That night in Bengaluru at the Kantirava, 26,000 fans singing Vande Mataram and Jana Gana Mana. Indian football was on an unprecedented high. 3 tournaments on the trot. We had broken into the top 100. There was optimism everywhere that the journey would now go up and up and up. All of a sudden there was belief. All of a sudden there was hope. And we felt that things had turned the corner. But we were so badly mistaken. A couple of months later, India finally landed at the Asian Games 12 hours before the team played its first game. We did not have an adequate number of players. On day 1 against China, when Sunil Chhetri was actually signaling to the bench that he was tired, the coach and the support staff did not have players to send out. India had not sent the requisite number of players. The campaign was an absolute disaster. What else could it be? The political and administrative problems that continued had made sure that Indian football had taken a backward step. If the Asian Games was considered to be an aberration, the Merdeka was yet another one. We felt it was a one-off. We thought things would again change for the better and things would again improve with time. The coach asked for time in the camp for 4 weeks ahead of the AFC. We felt the most important tournament would be treated like that. There was a huge issue between club and country, and sadly, Indian football suffered. The fact is, you cannot blame anyone. But the problem is, the game was suffering. It is not the ISL that was at fault, not the clubs that were at fault, not the national team. But the truth is, the game was suffering. Someone had to take onus. Someone had to take responsibility. Someone had to stem the rot. We unfortunately did not do that. The team assembled 12 days for a camp ahead of the AFC. Yet again, the tournament turned out to be an absolute disaster. The first game against Australia, India was on song. 60-odd minutes, India played quality football. They had held Australia, one of the better sides in the Asian Confederation, and then a goalkeeping howler from Gurpreet Sandhu, and the game was lost. Thereafter, the AFC campaign went from bad to worse. We were the only team that ended up without winning a single game, without scoring a single goal. And June 2023 seemed a million miles away. All of a sudden, Indian football was staring down the barrel. We felt that lessons had been learned from the AFC. We felt things would now change and change for the better because this was the World Cup qualifier. If you do not make the 3rd round of the World Cup qualifier, you would have lost the plot. Clearly, you will push your game back by a good 5 years. India had to win against Afghanistan and then the June match against Kuwait, which is the decider. We went to Saudi Arabia thinking perhaps this is the time. A draw, a pretty ordinary effort from India, and then the match at home. Everyone thought that Saudi Arabia was an aberration. Somehow, somewhere, the thing had to change. Somewhere, Guwahati had to be different. 1-0 lead with Sunil Chhetri scoring in his 150th match, and it all seemed rosy for India. Thereafter, a bad defensive howler, Rahul Bheke ricochet, and 1-1. And eventually, in the 85th minute, Gurpreet Singh Sandhu howler. From all of a sudden, at the top of the penalty box, another penalty conceded, and the scoreline 2-1 against India. One of the worst nights for Indian football in a long, long time. And June now seems a million miles away, and June of 2023 is what we are referring to here. But another June could change everything. Have we learnt our lessons? Are we going to put in the changes? Are we going to ring in the changes and do things that we need to do? The Kuwait game is do or die. A win can still take India over the line. And if we don't, then we stare down the barrel and would have pushed the sport back by a good 5 years. Will the administrators, the coaching staff, the players all come together for the sake of the sport, for the sake of the fan? We have to wait for answers. But for the moment, it's very difficult being an Indian football fan.